Yeah, hello. I think it's really achievable. You have several European countries having set end dates for fossil fuel cars. The whole auto industry is moving towards electric vehicles. This is more than 10 years out. I really think this is the right move. So it gives customers the confidence that they know what's going to happen in over 10 years' time. And of course, the country can gear up with electric vehicle charging infrastructure, which is the other thing that needs to be done now to have this in place for the 2035 deadline.
Neither New Zealand nor Australia actually manufactures cars themselves anymore. So how much of a sway do we have potentially to get to that point, particularly when it comes to cost and giving consumers a choice?
Well, cost is always an issue. Electric cars are still a lot more expensive than petrol cars, in many cases about twice as expensive than petrol cars. But you have to see the cost for all the health issues that are associated with petrol cars. We now know that the number of people dying from emissions, and that's not just greenhouse gas emissions, this is purely NOx emissions and particulate matter emissions. More people die from these emissions every year than in road accidents. So the bill for the health system is huge. And if you're not doing something about this, this is just going on and with a dear cost on society. So if the government would decide to give subsidies for electric vehicles or have a quota for electric vehicles, we would see an increase like we see in the European countries. I mean, Norway has a 75% rate of electric vehicles on all new car sales. That can only be achieved by having subsidies for these vehicles and penalties for petrol and diesel cars. And the same would work in this country. As you say, there's no car industry here. There's nothing to protect. So if we want to have a cleaner environment, we just have to steer this by government regulations.
Yeah. How else, other than government regulation, are we going to really get traction with regard to electric vehicles? We saw the US President Joe Biden saying he wants the US to win this space. Why does it have to be a race?
I don't think it's a race. I think everybody's moving in the same direction. I think most countries have recognized there's no alternative to phasing out fossil fuels. Electric cars are a great opportunity because it shifts sort of the momentum. So people who adopt electric cars, they're most likely to be environmentally friendly in other areas as well. So many owners of EVs also have solar panels. They're trying to do the right thing economically. So I think it's a great step forward and an easy one to do, because the harder one will be renewing the grid, having more renewables on the grid, coming towards a fully 100% sustainable energy production in the end.
What will get it to a sustainable and affordable level without government subsidy?
Well, there's two things happening. One is that batteries will come cheaper over the time. So if we think about 5 years' time, there's going to be a price equality between electric vehicles and petrol vehicles. So for the consumer, it's the same cost, and then it's going to be more convenient to buy electric vehicles. The other choice would be just having government-mandated quotas. So if the government would say every manufacturer selling cars in Australia have to have, let's say, 10 or 20% EV fleet, they would have to bring these cars into the country. At the moment, there's similar mandates in other countries. So the EV production from North American and European manufacturers goes into these countries, because if they wouldn't fulfill their quota over there, they would have to pay high fees. So there's not enough cars to get around to come into Australia. So if we would adopt similar laws, similar emission laws, then we would immediately see these cars over here.
And of course, China wants to enter this space as well. How soon might we see cars from China entering other markets?
I think that's already happening. So we have the MG brand, which is now China-based, exporting cars into Australia. I think there's probably more cars coming from China in the near future than from the European countries, because of the quota issue there and the higher production in China, which is gearing up with electric vehicles. Hopefully in the lower price brackets, because right now the entry level is still quite high to buy an electric vehicle. But as I said, I think in the next 5 years or so, I think that should come down to a reasonable level.